welcome to the Hey You Guys podcast. We host Rob and Liam.
Hey, how's it going?
If you ever wanted to intimidate a bunch of Chinese martial artist gangs,
They are gangs of martial artists. Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Well, look, if you ever wanted to intimidate them, the best thing you need is a giant wicker lampshade and a back scratcher. You and your friends, go ahead, giant wicker lampshade, back scratcher, a cape if you need it, and everyone is scared of you.
Yeah, I mean, they show, in fairness, I think you're slightly overlooking the fact that they appear out of the sky and one specifically travels down on lightning. No. I don't think they've all looked at him like he's traveled down on a bolt of lightning and they've all looked at him, dude, have you seen his fucking hat? I'm not messing with that guy.
Dude, it's the wicker lampshade. If somebody stare at you through the slats of a wicker lampshade, then that's a little bit scary.
I'm not sure if they've thought it through, to be honest. Like, it just doesn't look like it's got good visibility through the hats at all.
So if we haven't said it already, we watched Big Trouble in China.
Yeah, we should mention the film. Everyone,
I was so excited to just get that part out because that just stuck with me for the whole film. But we watched Big Trouble in Little China. I've got to say off the bat, I'm a huge fan of Kurt Russell as Jack Burton in this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that goes without saying. I mean, whatever your views of this movie, I think the one unequivocal statement is like Jack Burton is a great leading man and a completely unique leading man. And a big part of that is Kurt Russell. And I mean, I'm a massive Kurt Russell fan. Yeah. I'll watch Kurt Russell staring at a wall. That would be weird, watching Kurt Russell staring at a wall.
I raised a question the other day. Name me a bad Kurt Russell film.
Oh, Escape from LA. Escape from LA is dog shit.
I don't even think it's bad. No,
dude, it's terrible. It's terrible.
It's not good, but I think you can still watch it and just enjoy it.
Can you? I couldn't. That one immediately jumped to my head. Whoa. I think that film is absolutely terrible.
Right. Well, you just fucked up my curve then, because I've asked quite a lot of people and nobody could tell me.
I think don't get me wrong. Even in that film, you don't have to be an actor in nothing but great films. I think what makes a great actor or somebody who really has that kind of star quality is that even in a bad film, they can still be great. Yeah. And I don't think it's his best performance. It's nothing on, it's still Snake Plissken, but like he's still cool in a really bad film. Like Escape from LA's, dude, it's a really bad film.
Hey, but even in that, it's terrible.
Go back and watch it. It's a rough watch.
It is terrible, but I still enjoy watching it. I'll give it that.
I mean, we're going to start talking about Escape from LA now instead of Big Trouble in Little China. But like the visual effects in that film are peak dog shit 90s CG as well. Everything about that film, I really hate that film. Well, bringing it back, even in that film, I like Kurt Russell. Though.
Bringing it back. Yeah, the effects in that look terrible compared to the effects in this, which look actually really good for this time.
They totally do. And it was a weird one because the budget, I think the effects budget for this film was really low. It was like $2 million. And John Carpenter wasn't happy with a lot of them. And supposedly Kurt Russell said, it was in one of like the interviews after it or like DVD commentaries, he said it was like the only or one of the very few times that you saw John Carpenter lose his cool on set was with one of the effects supervisors. But I was like, I thought most of the effects, I mean, some of them are pretty 80s, but for the most part, like, especially like the electric stuff, like that opening scene with Egg Shen, where he's, explaining why it's a bit of a strange scene in context, but when he does the lightning between his hands and stuff, like it all looks awesome. A lot of this
why that
really
scene
good.
Was pretty.
Yeah, it was to make Jack Burton look more heroic.
Yeah.
But all it ends up doing is... And it's one of those things with this film. Sorry, I'm about to go off on one here. I hear a lot of people refer to this film as being like, stereotyped or maybe even racist. It's none of those things, I don't think. The great thing about this film is that it works on such a satirical level. And a big part of that, I think, I'm sure you're about to say, is that the studio said, okay, you've got to have an intro where they explain why Jack Burton's amazing. And of course, Egg Shen does that. But then immediately it's followed by 90 minutes of Jack Burton being absolutely useless for the most part.
And it's like this whole that film is useless.
Yeah, it totally is. And the whole thing with this film is like, under a less kind of, cultured hand, it could be another white savior, Asian stereotypes, but instead he's portrayed as the white savior. But the white savior is a fucking buffoon. He has no idea what's going on. He's constantly fucking up. And the real hero is actually Wang, Wang's like this, he's the one who wins all the fights. He's the one who quietly goes about his business. And even the way they kind of deliver exposition, like all the Chinese characters, when they're delivering exposition, it's really serious and really kind of late. And then all of a sudden, as soon as anybody white starts talking, they sound like they're out of a fucking cartoon. It's unbelievable. But yeah, I think the film really works as a satirical commentary on the kind of representation of Asians in Hollywood cinema, especially 70s. I mean, for fuck's sake, he's wearing a fucking Fu Manchu vest. That's not by accident.
That vest is fantastic. That vest
is an amazing vest.
But growing up, I always watched this film and I never understood why we needed that at the beginning, because there was no police at the end of the film or anything to say, right, Egg Shen needs a lawyer. So why is he all of a sudden in a lawyer's office? I never understood the film. And I mean, I knew this a couple of years back now. I knew why they put it in, but it's just, it seems pointless to, like you say, just defend Jack Burton in this film with that opening monologue. It doesn't need it, because you just need, you have Jack Burton is it's the way into this world for us, for the viewer.
Yeah, totally.
So you've got Jack Burton. It's the way into
Chinese culture, mythology. Chinese superstitions, the whole works. Yeah,
and it's really good to do that. And then all of a sudden, because you say the white savior, or more like the white buffoon.
Yeah,
that guy. He cannot do anything right. He is cool in his own mind.
He looks the part. He looks cool as shit.
Even the way when you first meet him and he's traveling along in the rain and he's driving. He just says, "This is Jack Burton in a Pork Chop Express talking to anyone who'll listen." And
it sounds quite lame, doesn't it? It's like he's got no friends. He's talking to literally anyone.
But that is Jack Burton throughout the entire film. He will just talk to anyone who will listen to him.
Well, that's what gets him by, isn't it? It's like, despite the fact that he keeps fucking up, because he's so loud, because he is so charming in his own strange way, it's almost like everybody just assumes that he did something. Yeah. But we are any character who can deliver the monologues that he can, they're totally nonsensical. There's no need. That opening scene in the truck, I'm going to read it because it's one of my favorite.
I grabbed two as well. I wonder if you're going to say monologue. I wonder if you're going to say what I said. I wonder if you're going to say what I wrote down.
My favorite one, without question, is when some wide-eyed 8-foot-tall maniac grabs your neck, taps the back of your favorite head up against a barroom wall, looks you crooked in the eye and asks you if you paid your dues, you just stare that big sucker right back in the eye, and you remember what old Jack Burton always says at a time like that. Have you paid your dues, Jack? Yes, sir. Check's in the mail. It makes no sense. Wait, so I know I fucked that up a bit, but your favorite head up against the barroom wall. That doesn't make any sense.
It just says on my notes, grabs your favorite head, because I pinpointed the same thing. Totally. And the one before that, I suppose if you think about it, it does make sense. But as he says,
cats are kicking off. Sorry.
As he says it so quick, you got to stop and think about it. It's like I never drive faster than I can see. It's all in the reflexes.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
No. All right, I know what you're trying to say. You drive fast and it's fine because it's all in the reflexes. But that entire monologue is absolutely pointless. He is talking the rain. Well, he'll talk to anybody who will listen to him, and that goes through.
He's like a complete
He just wants to be the cool guy. He just wants to be the guy that everybody follows. And what I love about this is they are, for some reason, they're boosting his ego. They are following this guy. They are saying, "Oh, we need Jack. Jack's helping us," and as you say, Wang, and I said that without giggling, so I've matured.
You've done well, yeah.
Yeah. So, as you said, Wang did a lot of the fights, won a lot of the fights. And
all of the fights?
All of the fights. The best one I remember is trying to get his gun working. When they're in
he can't get his gun. Well, there's tons of he can't get his gun working. Misses a fight. At one point, he's trying to get the knife out of his boot. Fucks that up. Throws the knife. Misses the fight. At the end, it's the big final showdown. He shoots a hole in the ceiling. It knocks him out. He misses the fight. The only thing he does is the cool knife trick at the end, which is kind of like preceded at the start when he catches the bottle with the whole reflexes thing. But I think it is just the whole thing is based on confidence. He just comes in, and it's weird because he is heroic in his own way, because you see those moments he's like, "Don't be scared, Jack." I was like, "I'm not scared." And then you see his face. He's like, "Yeah, he's scared." Yeah. When he shoots those guys, it's like, "Is that the first person you've ever plugged?" He's like, "No, clearly that was the first person he's ever shot." And even when he goes to rescue him, they're like, "Oh, what's your plan, Jack?" He's like, "I have no idea." he's heroic because he is genuinely brave. Like he's not one of these machine, like he's like the anti-80s action hero again, kind of like in a different way to John McClane, as we talked about in the Die Hard episodes. It's like he's not superhuman. Like he wants to be the 80s action hero, but he's just a dude. Like he's scared, but he still does it because, like I said, despite the fact that he's scared, and I think it adds to his charm is the fact that he is brave, that he does it. He is the first one to step in, and that's why I think everybody assumes he's done more than he has because he's the first one through the door. He just happens to be the first one through the door and the first one to trip over his own laces and fall flat on his face.
He's such a fast talker as well, mind. Like when they do walk, as you say, first through the door, when they walk through the door, him and Wang, they walk through the door and they're having a chat with each other and they're going, oh, is everything down here? Is it all down here? And then they see the camera and they're saying, oh, last time we did this, it was something to do with the rats chewing something or anything. Like he's constantly thinking and constantly, but he's tripping through everything. Like
he's just a man. He just gets like everything about him is incidental. I mean, obviously, the whole thing with this film is he's supposed to be like the old, and it goes back to the original script. I'm probably stepping on facts here, but the original idea for this film was that it was going to be set in 1899 in Chinatown in San Francisco.
Yeah, it was.
And he was going to be a cowboy, and the idea was that he was this amazing shot, but then he was useless in a fight. Like he was. As long as he was shooting cans and stuff, he was the best shot in the world. But as soon as the fight started, his aim went to bits. And that's a bit like this, I suppose. But the one thing that's obviously left over is the idea of him being this kind of like prototypical kind of cowboy. Like, don't get me wrong, like the delivery and everything is clearly very John Wayne. That's not an accident. It was clearly a choice. But even the Pork Chop Express, he's got a truck. It could just as easily be a horse. It just, he just rolls into town, the stranger. Like you say, there's an issue going on. He ends up getting embroiled in, these issues, which, is in over his head, but he's not connected to any of these characters. Like even at the start, it becomes a mess because he ends up hitting on Kim Cattrall. Like that, and to be clear, that introduction is really confusing. The scene at the airport, another one of those classic 80s things where you wouldn't last 2 minutes in an airport with guns, weapons, just looking that shady. One of them, what's the gang called? The Black...
Was it the Black?
There's so many gangs. Oh, the Lords of Death.
Lords of Death.
The Lords of Death. Right, one of them has got what I can only describe as the most racist sunglasses I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he's allowed to wear them because he's Chinese. But there's some racist-ass sunglasses.
How can you see through two slits?
I mean, again, we're talking about a film with a lot of Asian people, that could be construed without seeing it as being incredibly racist. But these really are... I mean, I've never described a pair of sunglasses as racist because I'll defend the rest of the film as being, a kind of a satirical twist on these kind of like old-fashioned stereotypes. But those sunglasses are racist as fuck. But the main thing is that, one, how do people used to get away with that in an airport? But I think that the whole film is kind of predicated on this confusion between the character Kim Cattrall is going to pick up, and Mao Yin. Mao Yin, yeah. So they're going there to get the other girl to put her into slave, like as a sex slave. He intervenes, so they end up picking up Yao Min by accident, and then she just happens to have green eyes, which is of interest to Lo Pan. So, it seems a lot of it is very incidental and doesn't really make sense. Like, it sounds like doesn't make sense.
So basically. Yeah, it sounds like they do this quite a lot. They just wait in the departure lounge. Not the departure lounge, the
arrivals.
The arrival, sorry. And they'll just grab any Asian woman they can get their hands on and then sell her into...
It's a ballsy move at the airport.
Yeah.
Just picking up random Asian girls.
Grab them in, get them in, get them sold, get them done. And it turns out, as you said, they were lucky and they grabbed Mao Yin, and it turns out she got green eyes, and 7-foot-tall David Lo Pan needs her to become flesh and bone again.
A lot of that is...
But a lot of that exposition as well. A lot of that exposition is not really explained. It's put in drips and drabs, and you've got to pick up on that. So I quite like that. It's not just... But it's still random as hell.
That bit's confusing as shit to me.
Before we say anything else, you did mention about catching the bottle at the beginning, and him saying it's all in the reflexes. How can you call that a fucking knife?
Yeah, it's not a knife. It's a hatchet.
Yeah.
A cleaver, sorry. Hatchet,
and why is he carrying that around with him? I know you need protection, but...
Yeah, and I'm still not quite sure what...
And where did he put it after?
It doesn't matter, does it? It's that kind of film. Like, as the film goes on, there's less and less thought given to things making any sense. It's just things happen to keep people moving. Like, it's all about propulsion, this film. It's just keep people moving. And basically 90% of this film is just people doing stuff and things happening. The other 10%, and you've already referred to this, is solid and super clumsily delivered exposition. The exposition in this film is and again, it's really weird that you have this mix between these almost like kind of mythical retelling of Chinese legend by anyone Chinese. But as soon as it goes to Kim Cattrall, who appears to be in a different movie playing Gracie, she's like in a screwball comedy or some kind of 40s noir. All I can think is that she's looked at the script and she said, listen, all I'm doing is delivering exposition. So she's like, I'm going to deliver this like a fucking lunatic.
Did she take a breath?
No, she doesn't take it. Like, she clearly does it with tongue in cheek. Like, she knows what she's doing, and I think it's actually really good. You can watch it and go, well, "That's weird acting." I think like she knows exactly what she's doing. She's like, "This is a ridiculous character delivering ridiculous exposition. So if I'm going to deliver this exposition dump, I'm going to do it in a way which at least leaves a mark," which it absolutely does.
Her second introduction after the airport, when she comes into the Chinese restaurant. And she takes her hood off and she goes, "Relax, it's only me, Gracie Lowe." And that sounds like a title sequence for a TV show that she should be in anyway.
It totally does. Again, she feels like it's from a different era. It's from a different movie. Her whole character is bizarre. But
I love the face everyone else pulls when she says, "Relax, it's me, it's Gracie Lowe." It's like, oh.
Yeah, well, you get that a lot. Again, it's all the white characters. It's like, oh, fucking Gracie Lowe. It's like right at the end. It's like, oh, remember what old Jack Burton says? And Lopan goes, who? He's like, Jack Burton. Like, you know, that idea by the end of the film, everyone knows who Jack Burton is. Like, dude, I don't even know who you are. You're just some dude, you know?
And I loved it. Like, was it Margot as well, the reporter?
That totally pointless character.
And they just, and they even highlighted that in the film. They were like, why is she here?
Dude, she doesn't need to be there, and neither does Eddie. And it's almost like they're like, oh, let's make them a kind of a couple just because. It's like, do we need those characters at all? The answer is, it's like you could just as easily make Kim Cattrall, Gracie, a reporter. Yeah. You don't need this superfluous extra character. You know, it's such a weird choice. And I don't want to blame the actress because it's a nothing part. And it's the same, as I said, with Eddie. He's like the kind of the Chinese-American equivalent where he's just kind of there. So we're like, we'll kind of give them a loose, very clumsily assembled love interest, but it doesn't work.
They brought him in just to tell him his truck was gone. Like, they've stole your truck, mate.
They stole, yeah. Like, again, it could be a horse. But I'd say, like you said about it's not just the effects of this film. Like, you get that, like, you know, let's not forget, John Carpenter's an exceptional director. And one of the things I noticed with this film in particular, and it was just a timing thing, because I put it on today, funny enough. I watched it a month ago, bizarrely, because I was trying to convince my wife that this was a good film. She fucking hated it, by the way. But it was the introduction to San Francisco. I love that, because usually when you go to San Francisco, you think, oh, sunshine. I mean, actually, if you go, I've been there, it's actually mostly fog. But, you know, you think of it as being quite a sunny place. But the introduction to San Francisco is all mood. You know, it's like it's pouring down with rain. I love the fact that you don't get the showy, like, they're not giving you, I mean, I know he drives across the Golden Gate Bridge, but most of it is just this grimy corner of Chinatown. It's not a glorified version. It's down an alleyway. It's, you know, it's all energy and action. And I compared that to Charlie's Angels, the 2019-20 version was on Sky, and I was just like, God, I heard that was terrible. I'm just going to turn this on for 2 minutes. I watched 5 minutes of it, and it's them driving into Berlin, and it's the most boring introduction to a city I've ever seen in my life. It's so sterile. There's nothing going on, and they're clearly making a thing of it, like, oh, this is Berlin. Look, Berlin, and it's boring. Whereas this, immediately, that sense of place, you know, a different side of San Francisco. I thought that was amazing. I love the introduction to this film. Obviously, beyond his monologues, of course.
It gives you a dark, foreboding feel, even in a film like this. Like, they're driving in the rain. You know, they're in the gritty area of Chinatown. You know, they're all gambling overnight and everything. And then,
it's gritty but oddly charming, though. It seems friendly.
It does feel as well like it's building up to something different.
Yeah.
If you didn't know what this film was and you just had the title and then you had that beginning, it could easily, even to the point where the Lords of Death kidnap Mao Yin, it could easily just be, Kung Fu, like Chinese Mafia or something like that, just going up against that. Then all of a sudden, you've got them chasing the Lords of Death. you got the truck turning into an alleyway it shouldn't have fitted in.
That's when it goes off the rails. Yeah.
And then, and that poor body in the coffin. Now, I know he's dead already.
Do we need to shoot? Everyone shoots at it. Everyone shoots at it.
But even his own guys, the ones who are carrying him, take their sticks out, let him drop, and just let him get on. And these sticks, it's like they knew it was coming, because those sticks that they take out of the coffin, then they give him a little whip, and they extend. And I don't care what you say. I watched this film when I was young, and I watched it loads as a kid. And you'd start going around doing the weird hand symbol to your friends.
What are they called? The Chang Sing, it's their like high five thing, or their thumbs up. It is pretty cool in fairness. But
you're just walking around doing that to your friends and stuff as a kid.
I've seen that film a few times now, not nearly as much as you. But the one thing I'll tell you is, again, too many gangs. Like, there's so much. As soon as he turns that corner, things get weird, and immediately Wang starts his exposition dumps as the fights are going on. So there's the Lords of Death, who don't really need to be a thing, because supposedly they're just working for the Wing Kong. You don't need the Lords of Death, just make him the Wing Kong. But within 2 minutes, there's the Lords of Death, the Chang Sing, the Wing Kong, and then all of a sudden, the 3 Storms show up. Yeah. Then there's Lao Pan, or David Lao Pan. I don't know what the fuck is up with that. Why is he called David? But yeah, like in that, like, don't get me wrong, it's an amazing action scene. Again, I love the fact that it's that 80s style. Like, you're driving on the streets of San Francisco and then you suddenly turn into what is clearly a set. But there's just so much going on. There's so many names thrown at you. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And like, they're fighting each other, and then all of a sudden, the 3 storms appear from out of the sky, and they're like, oh no, we're all fighting them now. They're bulletproof.
But that's right, because who are the ones working for David Lopan? You said
Well, no, because that's the thing. I thought the Wing Kong, the 3 storms. Sorry, let's start again. The Lords of Death, I thought were working for the Wing Kong, the guys who wear the red turbans and wear black.
But they were working with for David Lopan, because this is where I didn't get
it. Didn't make any sense.
They were scared of the 3 storms.
Yeah.
But at the end of the film, they're at the wedding of Mao Yin and Gracie Law to David Lopan. Yeah. So they were, and they're actually in the building as well.
Yeah,
then
they are.
So they work for them. So why they're scared of why the 3 storms are taking them down in that alleyway, I don't know. But if we look at that alleyway, before we look at anything else, when you first introduce the Wing, I forgot it again.
The Wing Chun.
The Wing Chun. That there was a bit left over.
I'm mixed up now. Sorry, the Chang Sing. Fucking hell, we can't even do it. The Chang Sing are the good guys who do the hand signal.
So who's the bad
Wing
guys?
Kong are the Wing Kong.
The Wing Kong. So when you first see the Wing Kong and they walk past the Pork Chop Express, there is what feels like the remnant left over of the script when it was a Western. When you had the bad guy who looked like the second in command from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he's got his cross bandolier of bullets. Yeah, and his gold plated revolvers,
6 shooters.
That was so random. You got all these martial artists, people got swords, people got bow staffs, and then this dude's just got his 2 6-shooters ready to go.
Well, yeah, the whole scene is quite weird because you think, it's a martial arts film. They're all going to fight. And, of course, one of them, the dude who's in all the 80s action films, the guy with the beard, the guy who's in Die Hard as well. I'm sure
the guy who loves the Nestle Crunch.
Yeah.
I wrote his name down. I got his name, but somewhere.
That dude who's in he's like Asian dude in every 80s action film. Al Long. Like, when they show up and I think he's carrying cleavers as well, funny enough. You think, there's going to be a traditional martial arts face-off. But instead, they all start shooting each other. So the first thing they do is shoot each other. But then it's all of a sudden, everybody runs out of bullets at the exact same time. And then all of a sudden, Wang is in the truck and is like, oh, no, Chinese face-off or standoff. And then all of a sudden, it becomes a more traditional martial arts film. But even that's weird because some of the fighting, like, there's no blood and stuff. And you think, this is like a PG-13 action movie. But then all of a sudden, one dude gets his arm broke very clearly. And the other dude gets stabbed in the dick. He definitely gets stabbed in the dick. I'm like, what? And you can ask that all the way through. It's like, is this supposed to be an adult film? Not an adult film as in a porno, you know what I mean? A film for grown-ups, or is this supposed to be a family-friendly film? But even the genre. I mean, where is it? I wrote it down somewhere. Oh no, this is the worst one. I can't find the goddamn notes I've got. But it was basically Carpenter explaining what the genre was. And you're going to have to talk to me because I can't find it now. No.
So while you're looking in, I'll say the introduction of the Three Storms, when they come in, I know I've already mentioned the hats, but when they're doing their moves and everyone just stops to watch in awe as they're doing their moves, can we just take a brief moment and just mention the weapons that they pull out?
Oh, yeah, it's all sorts.
So the first guy, Thunder, I think it is, pulls out these little daggers that's got a half-moon dagger on the front, which, all right, they look like they could do some damage. So you think, okay, that's going to do some damage. Then the next guy, who was it? You had Thunder. I want to say Wind. It was not Wind.
No, it's not. It's Thunder, Lightning, and Rain.
Rain. So Rain pulls out the back scratcher. An extendable back scratcher.
Extendable, yeah, that's the best thing.
So, two of them. But then the best one ever then is Lightning. Because Lightning doesn't got weapons. Because he's got spinny forehands. He's got spinny forehands. Like, what is he doing? Does he have to high-five people to injure them? Like, I don't know where
And what I love is, like, how showy it all is. Yeah. Everybody does their moves beforehand, and it always finishes with that weird when you breathe out. I can't say the words. When you exhale.
Exhalation.
Yeah, let's go with that. And they just do that like thing at the end, like every single time. They do their moves, then they do that, and then they're down to business. But yeah, he does all that, and then at the end of it, you're like, wait a minute, has he got spinny forehands? And I really don't know what he's going to achieve with the back stretch. In fairness to Thunder, he's got a pretty cool weapon. Like that's a traditional,
that weapon is awesome.
Chinese weapon. Like they kind of fit together, you pull them apart. They're cool.
As soon as he pulls that one out and starts doing it, and they're going to introduce the other two guys and their weapons, you think business is going to pick up. At some point, somebody's going to pull out a sword and somebody's going to No, an extendable back scratcher and basically spinny spokes.
Yeah. And even their powers are quite... I mean, this leads us into one of the questions we got this week. When the guys asked, like, who's your favorite of the Three Storms? So
Lightning.
Obviously Thunder, like, what's that?
Lightning.
Well, Lightning's the obvious one because obviously that's, what Raiden's based on. He looks cool, but he doesn't actually do much. I was like, and let's be honest, they don't die particularly well. Like Lightning at the end, he just gets a Buddha statue dropped on his head. That's
why he's my favorite.
Yeah, well, he looks great. He doesn't look particularly well. Thunder, who's obviously the leader, he has the best weapons, but like, again, spoiler alert, I guess, for the end of the film, but it's one of the questions my brother asked. He's like, wait, so at the end, does Thunder just blow himself up? And obviously that's what happened, but why does he do it? Is it because he's sad?
Yeah.
Is it because he loved Lopan that much that he just can't live without him, so he just blows himself up?
Like a petulant child, he held his breath until he exploded.
Until he literally... Well,
I loved when he's chasing Wang through that room, he stopped just to cut that lion statue in half.
Oh, yeah, with his hand.
Yeah.
It's like, just smashes it. It's like...
The reason why Lightning is my favourite is because he does all these moves and everything, but he got killed by a Buddha statue.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty
there is
focused.
Nothing... Like, you said Rain got stabbed.
I see, that's my favourite one is Rain. Like, I think he looks cool. I like the hair. I love the back scratches. Like he really sells with his face. Like he pulls the face. I'm like, yeah, he's going to do something with those back scratches. And even the way he dies in a really cool, like 80s, like wire kind of foo action scene at the end. Obviously, with the sword is a little bit lame, but it's like, at least he dies like a warrior. The other two, one of them gets a statue dropped on, and the other one explodes because his boyfriend died. It's like, come on, dude, fucking grow up.
That's one of the reasons why he took that role. I was reading because he got to have long hair.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because I loved it when he took off his lampshade. I'm going to keep calling him a lampshade.
I think that's totally fair.
When he took his lampshade off and his hair just flowed down, all he missed at that point.
He does the flick.
Yeah, but all he missed at that point was the shirt open.
Yeah,
totally. And the shirt open and the hair. And again, I say this like I said last week, I'm talking about hair whilst my shaved head is just doing nothing at the moment.
Yeah, you're just shaking your head like a lunatic if you can see it. But yeah, he's definitely like, Lightning steals the show because he looks awesome traveling down on lightning bolts. Like, there's no two ways about it. But my favorite is definitely Rain. He's like the low-key one. And as I said, I know they're ridiculous, but I love the back scratches. If I could have any of those weapons, I'd do. Like, all I'm waiting. Have you ever seen a Forged in Fire?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Forged in Fire, they've literally done Thunder's weapons on that before. I'm just like, one day, man, they're all gonna line up and they're gonna, what are we gonna make? A kind of traditional knife. It's like, no, you're making Rain's back scratches from Big Trouble in Little China. That would be fucking awesome.
Well,
or maybe the spinny fork things. Who knows?
They'll say you've got to match these parameters. They have to start off at 12 inches long, but they must be extendable to like 20.
In round 2, you've got to attach a working handle. I don't know what the test would be for the back scratches. Maybe just scratching backs. I don't know. But so Rain's my favorite, even though Lightning probably he definitely looks the coolest.
Again,
and
the only
Thunder
reason he's my favorite is because of the terrible, like the shit way he dies, because he's building up to be this, even when he walks to him at the end and the lightning's bouncing off the wall.
That bit looks amazing.
Yeah.
That bit looks so cool.
It's bouncing off the walls and he's walking in and you're thinking, Jesus Christ,
and the ceiling melts as well.
Yeah.
It's such a subtle thing, but it looks so cool.
And they're thinking, oh my God, we're fucked. And he gets headbutted by a Buddha statue.
Yeah. After all that build-up, it's
whilst we're on the hallway then, I can suspend disbelief for all of this film.
That's probably required.
Yeah, up until the point where Egg Shen pulls out his little crossbow winch thing, and he is the person bracing himself, taking the weight of all 4 of them as he pulls them up to his thing.
It's strange that you would pick that out as, although saying that is the point in the movie where they're like, listen, they even kind of reference the fact that nothing makes sense. Like, one of the, I think Gracie says to him, it's like, to Egg, it's like, how did you get up there? He's like, it doesn't matter. And then 2 minutes after that, they just happen to come across Jack's truck. So, the getaway vehicle is exactly where we need it.
That's one of my favorite lines in the film. How'd you get up here? It wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy. It's like, all right.
It wasn't
fair enough. Oh my God. But that is the point when obviously the exposition goes into overdrive, and you suddenly realize this film is absolutely bonkers. But as crazy as this film is, and it is crazy throughout, it's like for an hour, it's insane. And then the last 30 minutes, it completely goes off the deep end. It's like, this isn't nearly crazy enough. So we're going to add Beast from He-Man. We're going to have the eyeball monster. We're going to have like giant bugs which crawl out of a wall. For one scene only, just comes out, eats a dude. Egg Shen scares him off with marbles, apparently.
Yeah.
And it's like, the last, I forgot, because when I watched it, it's like a month ago. I think it was the first time I've seen it in about 20 years. And even when I was younger, I didn't have the same attachment to it. I'd seen it, but it's not a film I'd seen loads of times, so I couldn't remember. Like, I remembered the alleyway scene, and I remembered the 3 storms and all that jazz and low pan, but I couldn't remember just how crazy. Like, the last 30 minutes came as a genuine shock. As soon as they go down into the underground, it really goes off the rails.
Fire pole that he's had installed to do the underground mine.
Yeah, well, Lopan's fortress, his neon 80s fortress, isn't very well protected. Like, Egg Shen, like you say, he's literally got, all I can assume is they've seen Ghostbusters and they're like, listen, we need a fire pole in this. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. A fire pole down into his lair, it's like, just put it in. It's like, all right, fuck it, let's do it, dude. And that is exactly what happens. As soon as they go on that fire pole underground, it just goes mental.
But you're right. As soon as they go down the fire pole, but everything else before it, as I've already said, could just build up to a martial arts, like Chinese mafia film. Even when they go in to rescue Gracie, first of all, and she's hogtied with all the other women in that, in the cages. It's still nothing that I can recall at this moment, even though I watched it last night, that's batshit. But as soon as as soon as they start to get out and Beast from He-Man just grabs her and drags her through the wall.
Just for no apparent reason, he's just there.
And then he stares at her and screams. Then it starts to pick itself up and it starts to go nuts. Well, the one thing I wanted to ask, you had the introduction of Wang and they were talking, then it's like, we'll go to the airport, all right, I'll drive you. And then Mao Yin gets taken. Wang didn't seem that upset about it.
Yeah, he's upset one minute, he changes his mind the next. I got to be honest, I don't get the whole Mao Yin thing. He seems bang into her. She never really comes off as being particularly charming. Like, even at the end, where Lo Pan finally catches her, there's a scene, he's like, oh, I can't kill you. I love you too much. It's like, why do you suddenly love her? What is it about her? And even the point of her is rendered pointless. Like, I thought the whole thing was that, oh, she's a Chinese girl with green eyes.
Yeah.
But then Gracie shows up, and it appears that all he really needed was a girl with green eyes.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you live in San Francisco. There's tons of girls with green eyes. Like, why have you made such a fuss about? And in fairness, he probably did make a fuss because he wasn't looking for her in the first place.
Is that why they kidnapped Gracie again? Or, like, did they find out she had green eyes when she was in the cells? Or was it just pure draw?
I think it was just coincidence.
Beast wanted to take.
I think it was just coincidence.
You know, before that, had Jack hadn't met Egg Shen yet, did he?
No, Egg Shen just kind of. Both of them, Egg Shen, yeah, obviously he's kind of powerful, but his whole role and his relation, like how he just shows up, doesn't really make any sense. But then as soon as he starts talking to him, he's really familiar with him and starts calling him Egg.
But that's my question as well, because Jack had met him before they went into Lo Pan's business. But they come running out being shot at. Mm-hmm. Jack jumped into the bus and shouted, "Move it, Egg."
Yeah.
Like, so had they met each other before? Am I missing something?
He'd been referenced, I think.
Okay.
I think he'd been referenced by Wang.
Okay, so I've missed something there then.
He's just assumed. I think he's referencing. Yeah, he's still a little bit familiar with him. But the whole Egg Shen thing is a bit strange. I'm still not 100% clear on what Wang's role is, because Wang seems to be able to fight. Like, he beats some of the Three Storms. Like, he kills Rain. He has a decent fight with Thunder before Thunder decides to just blow himself up for effects reasons, as far as I can tell. So I'm not sure, like, beyond the fact that Wang is clearly the hero of the movie, does he have magic powers, or is he just really good at martial arts?
So, yeah, I don't think he has magical powers. And those martial arts come out of nowhere as well. It's like the beginning where he could actually show his martial arts prowess when they're running away from the, I forgot the name again.
Which ones?
And the Lords of Death and the Wing Chun.
The Wing Kong. The Wing Kong. You keep mixing them up. The Chang Sing and the Wing Kong.
Okay. the Wing Kong.
So white.
I'm glad you wrote this down.
I love the fact that I may have written this down incorrectly. And it's just, I keep correcting you incorrectly. If that's the case, I do apologize. I think
somebody is right now listening to this and screaming at their phone.
Yeah. I've got written down here, Wing Kang are the red turban guys, and the Chang Sing are the good guys with the cool hand signals. So that's got to be right. That has to be right. When they're running away from him, he could have at any point shown that he's got a bit of martial arts prowess. But they pretty much save it for when they're in the building and Jack can't get his gun to work, and Wang just goes batshit, just out of the blue. It's all very strange. As I said, a lot of it doesn't make sense. There are a lot of jumps. I mean, it's easy to miss things because everything is delivered with clumsy exposition dumps. But the film always gets by on the charm of Kurt Russell, the great visuals, the great sense of place. Like the cast, even the last ones, they're still all pretty charming. So again, does it make sense? Perhaps not. Is it fun when you're watching it? 100%. 100%.
It is such a great ride to be on. You have such a laugh watching. I say a laugh. It's just such a fun time watching this film. My wife went to bed last night about 10 o'clock, and I decided to watch it then. And I know it's only 90 minutes, and it's a fast 90 minutes. But I thoroughly enjoyed watching it again.
Well, it's so much as it. I mean, this is what I was getting to earlier. This is what the movie was described as by Carpenter. He said it's an action-adventure comedy kung fu ghost story monster movie. Now, I'm like, surely you can be a bit more succinct than that. And I'm like, actually, I don't think you can. It is all of those things.
Yeah.
And it's just, they throw everything at the wall in this film. And does it all work? No. Is it a perfect film? Absolutely not. But it's super fun. And there's nothing quite like it. There's nothing quite like it. The fact that it is quite a satirical take on the genre. I mean, again, Lo Pan, who arguably he's the closest thing I think to stealing the film. You know, the obvious one is Kurt Russell, but James Hong as Lo Pan is fantastic as both roles, as Lo Pan and as like the old version where he's like such a little creep in the wheelchair and stuff.
Who again is in everything. James Hong is in everything.
Well, he's 92 years old now, and he's still fucking acting. I mean, the thing is, I gotta be honest, when I think of James Hong, the two roles I think of are this and as the as Poe's dad, or his, you know, stepdad, or whatever you want to call him, in Kung Fu Panda. I love him in Kung Fu Panda.
He was in Blade Runner as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was in that. He's been, like you say, he's in most movies. His acting credits are at 422, I think. So he's been in some fucking films, but 92, man, and still like voice acting for sure. But he's been in a few movies. Because was he the shop owner in Gremlins, or am I making that up?
I don't think he was a shop owner. Oh, actually,
or maybe I'm just confusing it, because I know he's in the new Gremlins TV show.
I'm trying to go through his filmography, but it's a long way down.
Oh yeah, it's a long way down. He probably was in Gremlins. That's me just probably being quite racist. I'm just mixing him up with someone else. But I think it was literally just because he's in the new Gremlins TV show. And I thought, maybe he was in the original as well. Which was odd, because I was watching a bit of Gremlins this morning. But that's another film we'll end up doing for sure.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like what I love is at the end of the film, when it really does go batshit, and he's trying to marry the two girls because he's decided, Lo Pan, that, well, I might as well marry one because I can kill one as the blood sacrifice to become whole again. And the other one, he does make it very clear, the other one is just for shagging. So he's going to kill one, he's going to shag the other. And to do that, he needs the love needle, which isn't explained. He just has a love needle. Fair enough. And that's, I mean, this movie has great production design throughout, but that 80s neon layer, I mean, why it's got so much neon, where's the electricity coming from? I have no idea. Maybe lightning is running the show. And why the fuck does it have an escalator? Why has it got an escalator?
Why wouldn't you have an escalator going to a demon's mouth? But you said about the love needle. By any chance, did you write down, or did you notice what he said when he was putting the needle into Mao Yin?
What did he say?
I think it was Mao Yin, open up, let me in. Something along those lines.
Yeah, it was something absolutely, a very unsubtle
he's stabbing her and he's saying, let me in, or open. I can't remember it really. But
and he gets all creepy old guy again, doesn't he? He's like, how he gets all excited when he's like stabbing her.
Going back to James
rubbish.
Hong.
No, he's not rubbish. He's awesome. But yeah, he's
going back to James Hong. He was in The Golden Child as well, along with Egg.
And Rain was in it as well.
Yeah.
Which is really weird, because this film was rushed to be released before The Golden Child. Yeah.
Again, we'll get to a lot more of that in fact, but they actually rushed this film into production to beat The Golden Child, and they were both released the same time, 1986. And it's got a lot of the same actors, which was quite interesting.
Yeah, it's quite weird. Like, especially I think in the 80s and stuff, is you'd have, and I'm not comparing the two, just to be clear, but if you had like, we need an Asian actor for a Hollywood film, they would have like a selection of, say, 10, and they would just keep being repeated. You see them over and over and over again in these movies. And another one is like, oh God, I don't want to get this wrong, right? Like with dwarves. If you needed someone small, you know, it's all the same people in Return of the Jedi, in Time Bandits, in fucking Willow. I was like, oh no, we've got our 10 midgets, we've got our, you know, any kind of, you know, anyone who isn't white, basically, in the 80s. So like, well, we have this small group that we can kind of just bring in as needed as a minority in this film. So any minority group is covered by like 10 actors over and over again.
It's the same this day and age, isn't it? Because if you ever need an Eastern European, you get Peter Stormare, who
you do Swedish, get to a certain extent.
But and he said one of the best things when he had an interview, he just goes up to the casting and they said, can you do a Russian accent? He says, yes, I can do a Russian accent, and speaks his own accent. He goes, right, you're hired. Can you do a German accent? Yes, I can do a German accent. Speaks his own accent. He's hired. They just
can't hear it.
Yeah, just keep getting.
It's just
to do anything.
Well, we do live in a world, and again, to say, I'm sure it's still bad now, but let's not forget that the 80s was the time of Highlander, a movie where Christopher Lambert, who could hardly speak English, was hired to play a Scotsman, whereas in the same film, Sean Connery, the most Scottish of all Scotsmen, played a Spaniard for some, like, you know, whoever made that. I want to believe that they made that decision tongue-in-cheek. But you know what the real reason is? And the reason for most things that don't make any sense in 80s cinema? Cocaine. The answer to like 90% of weird questions of 80s Hollywood cinema is cocaine. And funny enough, I'm pretty sure they do cocaine in liquid form in this film. Before they go up into the battle scene, Egg Shen lines them up at a bar. Where the fuck did this bar come from? But it's clearly a bar. They all have shots. And when they're in the lift, they're not acting like they've had alcohol. They're all acting like they've had cocaine. They're like,
one guy... Did you
he just touches his arm?
He just grabs Egg Shen and he's just like caressing his shoulder.
Yeah, dude, they're totally on drugs. He's just like, oh, dude. And they all just smile. It's like, dude, Egg, after this, if we survive this fight, we should go open a surf shop in Maui together. It's like, oh, dude, we should totally do that. It's 100% cocaine.
When they started the fight after Jack Burton knocked himself out, they multiply because they handled a lot of the Wing Chun.
Well, that's a good point. And the other question is, were they briefly invisible? Because it's not the biggest chamber of all time. And of course, Lo Pan's doing his weird sex thing with the love needle.
Yeah.
They're not hiding. They're just standing on the side and just watching the whole thing. And I'm like, is no one turning around or noticing these, 10 guys who are just standing in the corner who do, as you say, appear to multiply to 30 in the blink of an eye. But I guess that's to make up for the lack of Jack Burton, who immediately takes himself out of the game by shooting the ceiling, which is brilliant.
I love the brief thing with the weird security camera, all-eyed, floating.
Super gross.
Super gross. I mean, when he licks his head with his eyeball tongue.
Yeah.
I've missed it a few times. Well, I only picked up on it this time. It's really quick. He's staring at the bad guys. So you see him concentrate and stare at David Lo Pan to send the image to Lo Pan.
Yeah.
And that little thing, I thought was so good. That little detail, that was so good. Just to, you had to concentrate and send the image to Lo Pan. Lo Pan just wasn't connected to him all the time.
Yeah. He's like eventually sending like a fax, even though he kind of looks like he's taking a shit. Even though I assume he doesn't have a butthole because he's basically just a head with eyes.
The puppetry and the effects of that thing are fantastic. For 1986, it doesn't feel like something that was made.
No, there are one or two bits where it doesn't look as good, but for the most part, and again, it's something we'll reference over and over again. This era, like peak physical effects era, is like the mid to late 80s. And it's the reason that even if not every shot quite lands, because they feel real, you let it go, like in the way that you wouldn't with bad CGI. And as you say, for puppetry, like it does look really, really good. Yeah, you can see it's an effect, but for 1986, it looks fantastic. And I stand by the fact that some of the electric or lightning effects, as it were, they look amazing. I don't know how you can make those look better. And we say this every week, 80 skeletons. The scene where they're in the lift shaft slash upside down room, whatever it is.
I wrote it down.
I'm like, dude, those are some fucking awesome skeletons. Again, every movie.
The hell of upside down sinners.
Of course.
My God.
That place.
I've noticed the line a few times where they say Chinese mythology has a lot of hells. But my God, they mention it a lot of hells in this.
They do mention it a lot, yeah. Again, does it matter? Probably not. But I mean, the thing is, they try and explain away earlier why they don't just kill Jack and Wang. Like, they have so many opportunities to kill them. And, they do that kind of classic Bond, send him away, tie him up, really poorly in these easy to break, I don't know why they're in wooden wheelchairs, but, they're set up to escape, but they kind of they actually implicitly say, they're just like, oh, Lo Pan has plans for us. That's why we're not dead. But as the film goes on, I'm like, I don't think Lo Pan has any plans for you. Like, he wants Gracie for sure, but he doesn't need Jack or Wang. So it's like, why? Dude, just kill them. You keep talking about boiling them until their skin falls off. Fucking do it. You've got every opportunity. It's like, get one of your guys. Rain, thunder, lightning. Yeah, they're a little bit incompetent, but dude, they're tied up. They could definitely take them out. And they just don't, over and over again.
I reckon the only reason they were in those wooden wheelchairs was just for the Three Storms to play a weird game of Skittles because it's just rolling them down the hill until you get to that pit. And I reckon they've done that a few times. They've just rolled a person down.
Yeah. There's no reason for that pit,
that
well, to be that unguarded well at the bottom of the steps to be there, other than, like you say, if they're just like, well, we've had enough of you, we're going to roll your ass down there and you're going to fall in the pit. Excuse me.
Just after that, when they're all grabbing the guns, I honestly loved the look on, what was his name? Eddie, the maitre d'?
Yes, Eddie, yeah.
So the three of them, and they got the guns, and they go and trade you. And Eddie's holding his double-barrel shotgun, and he's waving it around, and he's smiling, he's doing it. And then Wang takes it off him and gives him this little revolver, and the look on his face is just like,
oh.
Yeah, it's like, again, I think we mentioned it before, when Will Smith was given the noisy cricket in Men in Black. It's like, well, what am I going to do with this little thing?
Yeah, but it's just a shit gun in the end, isn't it? But again, you can't give Eddie an awesome gun, because he doesn't do anything. I mean, he gets that one fight with those two random girls on like the walkway. Yeah. But God, sorry, I'm choking to death here. 1 second, I'm gonna drink some beer.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, hopefully beer will fix it. It usually does. But yeah, they have so many, again, these weird choices where it just doesn't seem to make any sense. Like, I'm not sure if you needed the magical karate dance when he does have Grace and Mao Ying, and he wants, there's the burning blade thing. They've got to survive.
They got to tame the burning,
survive the burning blade.
Survive the burning blade to tame the
dragon's heart,
or something like that. Yeah,
dude, it just doesn't matter, does it? But they do like dance karate for like a solid 5 minutes, and then of course they do the floating up with the sword. It's all very strange. But what I really don't get is the complete inconsistency as to how often Gracie is hypnotized. Like, she's hypnotized, and then all of a sudden she wakes up, and then she's hypnotized again, and then she wakes up. Like, I have no idea what's going on.
I wonder if that's why they're looking for an Asian girl with green eyes, because they can be hypnotized easier.
Maybe. Again,
she kept breaking out, but Mao Yin she was under.
I just don't think No Pan is very smart. Like, it's like nobody's told him. It's like, dude, you're 2,000 years old. You live in San Francisco. You don't know that loads of white girls have green eyes. Like, you don't need this. Like you said, I don't think the core plot makes any sense, but it doesn't matter.
You said that martial arts dance as well. That goes back to what you said a little bit earlier on about the exhalation. To make them travel up to touch the heart that looks remarkably like a face with eyes. Obviously, a face with eyes. Yeah. And they're all just going, like they're just squeezing something out. Just
squeezing something out. Yeah. There is a lot of that. But yeah, like you said, like all the way through the film, things just kind of happen. I don't even know, if truth be told, where Jack gets his, like, was he wearing that vest? Was like his whole outfit, was he wearing those kind of what appeared to be yak skin shoes and his weird Fu Manchu vest?
I think that was everything he was wearing when he arrived in China.
Was he wearing that under? Okay, I'll give him that, because at one point it's like he's wearing those clothes, then he's just randomly wearing a very shiny kimono, and then all of a sudden,
like, he's got it hanging over their stoves, just drying. Yeah. And he's talking to some random woman on the phone about his insurance.
It's such a cool character, though. I mean, I love the idea that, when you think of it, obviously it's, it's very Chinese related, obviously. But like, especially at the end where he doesn't get tied down, he just leaves, like, like the traditional cowboy would. Yeah. And it's like, you just think, if only this film had done well, you would have ended up with like the ongoing adventures of Jack Burton. Like, because at the end of the day, it's not a film about Big Trouble in Little China. Really what it is a Jack Burton film. So I can only assume the idea would be that, I mean, I know you have that final scene when he's on the Pork Chop Express, he's driving out of town, and the weird let's be honest, the useless beast man who got kicked in the nards and taken out of action earlier, he's on there. But I assume, you could drive somewhere else and kind of get involved in another genre-based adventure. It's a shame that it never happened, because he's such a weird, unique character. And such a rubbish action hero, but in the most awesome way.
It is a character you would like to see continue to do other things.
Yeah, totally.
I loved it at the end.
It just didn't make enough.
I did like at the end where they said, well, aren't you going to kiss her goodbye? And he was just like, no.
Oh, and she wanted it. Yeah. She wanted, the way she's leaning up against the back and stuff, it's like she is keen as mustard. And he's just like, nah. And she even says, like, I will leave with you. And he's like, nah, I'd have to make a bet. I just like driving around in my truck, talking onto the Trans Am radio, telling people about my, what old Jack Burton does and all that shit. He leads a weird life, but kind of like, those, what was the show where the dog went around and got into adventures.
The Littlest Hobo.
The Littlest Hobo, where he had like the theme song and everything.
Maybe tomorrow I'll finally settle down. Until tomorrow I'll keep on moving around.
Yeah, he's basically the Littlest Hobo, but in human form.
In that party, was Egg smoking a bong at the end?
He was clearly smoking a bowl.
Yeah.
It was just like everyone else was having drinks and stuff, and Egg Shen is over in the corner smoking a bowl, and they go, like, Egg, what's going on? He's clearly fucked. He's overdone it. And he's like, basically, he's making his excuses, like, oh, dude, I've done everything. We defeated Lao Pan. I've got to go. I've overdone it. I brought this to share with everyone. Everyone was just drinking beers. I'm fucked. I've got to bounce, dude. I mean, that's not verbatim what he said. Like, read between the lines. That's basically what I'm saying.
We were saying about Jack Burton having some lines. Egg has got some fantastic lines in this.
Oh, Egg's great. Egg's great.
You touched on it. Squinty eye. You touched on it a bit earlier on when he throws the marble at the monster that comes out, and he's just like, "He will come out no more." Where, Egg? Where will he come out no more from?
Yeah. Well, that's again one of those like classic, like, you know, the white guy savior is not supposed to act like that, but he is acting on behalf of the audience. Where you're just like, "Whoa, what the fuck was that? What was that?" And again, there's no explanation. It's just like, dude, that monster came out and he ate that guy. And everyone's just like, oh, it's okay. Egg threw the marbles at him. What the fuck? Like, like you said, this film is weird up until that point, and he's dealt with the three storms, but at least they all look vaguely human. We're still not sure why Lo Pan is 7 foot tall, whatever. But then out of the blue, you get the giant bug monster eating dudes and the eyeball. You can see why Jack would be like, dude, this escalated quickly.
Nobody seemed rather upset that one of their guys just got eaten as well. It was just like, oh, keep moving on.
Except for Jack. I think Jack was like, dude, did you just see that? I don't want to get eaten by a giant bug.
I said Egg had fantastic lines. The more I think about it, it's probably Egg's lines compared with Jack's responses to them. It's like when they're talking about all their weapons and stuff, and Egg goes, 6 demon bag, great, 6 demon bag. What does it mean? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's like when they just start talking, I was like, dude, this doesn't make any sense. Oh, it's awesome. So, I mean, that's basically the film. I mean, again, it's a shame it didn't get the follow-ups we were hoping for, but the fact of the matter is it made, I think, 11 million off a 20-odd million budget, and that doesn't include all the advertising and stuff. But it was a weird one, because supposedly this went down like an absolute storm with test screenings. Like, it was playing through the roof. But it comes back to that idea and that long list of like action, adventure, comedy, kung fu, ghost story, monster movie. People just didn't know what they were going to see. And, you know, again, you watch it again and you're like, oh, clearly this is, you know, a twist on the traditional white savior narrative. But I'm not sure if it's kind of rammed down people. Most people just watch it and go, wait, why is Jack Burton so shit? You know, and why are there ghosts and monsters? And, you know, and when they do try and explain it, it is done with these like super rapid fire exposition dumps. Like, I watched it twice in a month and I picked up so much more the second time. I'm like, okay, this does kind of make sense now. But the first time you watch it, like, man, a lot of stuff's happening and I have no idea. We still can't get our head around the 4 gangs, the Chansing, the Wing Kong, the Lords of Death, and the 3 Storms.
You said it as well. When people watch this in '86, like, trailers and thing, they're not on TV, they're not on the internet, obviously. They're literally just on rentals. So people actually go into this film not knowing what they're expecting first. And then you are just getting some random film for the first, I say random film, you're getting 2 different films in one.
I would say 3.
You're getting a kidnapping. Sorry?
I would say it's 3. I would say it was what you said earlier. It's almost like a martial arts film for 15 minutes. Then they go to the alleyway and it becomes a supernatural kung fu movie, martial arts film. And then there's that final 30 minutes when it becomes a complete, like, a monster fest. Like, it takes another step up again. So it is almost 3 movies in one.
Yeah.
And you got to think, this was in 1986. This is around the same time as, you know, Rambo First Blood Part 2's just come out. Commando's just come out. These quintessential, like, That's just hit this big, huge influx of like traditional, what we think of as now as being the traditional 80s action movies, the ones who can't be hurt, the ones who will just kill everyone, walk through walls. And then suddenly Jack Burton shows up. And it's like, what the fuck's going on here? Why is he so rubbish? Of course, he's charming as shit, but you know, you look at the poster and you think, oh, this is a traditional action hero. He's got the pose, he looks the part.
Well, this kind of starts off with the action hero that's not really the traditional action hero that you get with Stallone and with Schwarzenegger, because you've got this guy who's a little bit smaller, you know, and you think he's the one. We keep going back to the white savior. He's the one that's going to help everyone, but he's just an imbecile.
Yeah.
And then you move on.
Absolutely, the Chinese guys, the Chinese American guys, they're the competent ones.
And that's when you then move on to
everything.
You then move on to Die Hard, where Die Hard was then the start of a new action genre. Like you didn't need the 6 foot wide, 6 foot tall, 300 pounds.
Yeah,
behemoth. Do you know what I mean?
They're quite different though, because John McClane is just an everyday guy. He's a cop, but he's someone who clearly knows his limitations. He knows he's not a Superman. He's just, he's a cop who has to try and do the right thing under unbelievable circumstances. Whereas Jack Burton thinks he's an 80s action hero, but he's not. Or at least he wants to like convey that to people, because he knows, like you said, it's not like he's fearless all the way. Like, yeah, he acts brave, but you can see it's like, oh, dude, he knows he's in over his head. He knows he's not what he's doing, but he won't admit that he can't do it. So he's just like, well, I've just got to do it. So he just keeps doing things and just hoping he doesn't get killed.
He's not the blueprint of an action hero. He thinks he's the blueprint. He thinks he's they broke the mold when they made him. So he is just convincing himself he's this guy, but he is just falling and he's bumbling through everything.
His strongest character trait is, despite the fact that he's an asshole, he is super brave. Like that is the thing. Like he is first through the door. Like he'll back up his bullshit with his actions. It's just a shame that his actions are always super clumsy and useless.
But I love in his mind as well that nothing can go on without him. There's two things that I remember from that. The first one is when they were going back into see Mao Yin in the brothel, and he said, no, there's two of us. He said, no. Wang said, I'm going, and Jack says, two. I said I was coming, and he never said he was coming, but in his own mind, he's already had a conversation.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys like, I'm just going to involve myself.
And the second one is when they're swimming in the sewer or wherever they're swimming to escape, and everyone's getting up, and he just swims us out. He goes, relax, it's fine, I'm here. Like in his mind, nothing can move on until Jack Burton shows up. And you guarantee in his own mind, he is calling himself Jack Burton every time.
Yeah. And again, it's because he says it with such confidence. You can see it's like people are going to get on with things. And then all of a sudden he shows up. So, whoa, Jack's here, Jack Burton, old Jack Burton's here. And everyone just kind of stops and goes, well, I guess we'll see what he does. And they just kind of go with it. And again, this whole idea that he's so confident and so like he involves himself in everything to the point where people have convinced themselves it's like the legend of Jack Burton almost. It's like you can imagine when people tell the stories, they'll be like, well, Jack Burton was involved in everything, despite the fact that mostly he wasn't. He was there, sure, but he wasn't doing anything useful. But because he says it with such confidence, you just believe it. You're like, all right, yeah. Cool.
This is the more you think about it. This is the story of the sidekick.
It is, yeah. This is Wang. Like Wang is the one trying to get his girlfriend back. Wang's the one who wins all the fights. Yeah. But then even like right to the end, despite the fact that he fucks up all the way through the film, who eventually kills Lo Pan? Of course, it's Jack Burton. He still has to have his moment. It all feeds into his hero complex kind of thing. So yeah, he saved the day. He killed, and I'm not quite sure what Lo Pan was trying to achieve there. He's got all those magic powers, so he tries to throw a knife at him, and it doesn't work out.
Goodbye, Mr. Burton. Like just
so confident.
Yeah,
so confident. Doesn't work out.
So I think we've covered most of this film a lot. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So before we move on to facts, do you have any last thoughts about this? About what you saw? Anything like that?
I mean, is this a point where we do our review, or are we going to wait for that for later?
I think we'll cover facts and then we'll do the review.
Okay. Well, we'll do our usual. We'll do facts, music, legacy, video games, and then we'll do our review at the end.
Yeah,
I guess fair. I think that's what we usually do. Why change it now? Facts. Go for it.
But sorry, before we go into facts, there's nothing you want to cover? There's one more thing.
No. If I do, I'll just blurt it out at some point.
There is one more thing I wanted to cover, and that was the lipstick on the teeth.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was the only way I can describe it, a passionate kiss. To push lipstick onto his teeth. And how is he not tasting it?
Yeah. And the fact that she even has to have the moment when he's going to run into battle and she has to rub the lipstick. She's like, whoa, you can't, you look like a fucking idiot. I'll rub this off your face. In fairness, I guess one thing I want to bring up is I'm not sure if I buy the whole relationship thing between him and Gracie. But again, it's maybe a little unfair because Gracie is just an exposition machine. And she feels like throughout she's from a completely different movie, whether intentional or not. But
it was said in Speed as well, isn't it? Relationships that happen during, or how do they put it? Relationships that happen during extreme circumstances never last.
Yeah.
So I
like the fact that he walks away. There's no, again, it all leads back to the fact that initially this was supposed to be a Western, and he's clearly he's just a really, really shit modern day in 1986 John Wayne. And he's like, he can't be attached. He's got to go to a new town, a new adventure, and another woman. That's just the Jack Burton way.
Yeah.
But yeah, the film is mental, and we'll get to the music in a minute. I'll save the music.
Yeah, let's stick with facts now. So I got a few. You go first. Feel free to go first.
Well, I just got a few. Supposedly they wanted Jackie Chan to play Wang, which I think makes perfect sense. But supposedly he didn't feel like his English was strong enough, and he'd already tried to crack America a few times that hadn't worked out. I mean, obviously he did do it in I think it was the mid to late 90s when he really did crack America. But obviously at this point, he just felt like his English wasn't good enough and decided to skip the role, and he was committed to Hong Kong cinema. We already mentioned the fact that it was rushed out to beat Golden Child to the cinema, and it was bizarre that there's this long history of Hollywood cinema of two films coming out with almost the exact same premise. You think, I never really thought about this one in Golden Child, but they're very similar films. And you think of what is it? Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Yeah.
There was Volcano and the other one.
Dante's Peak.
These things happen all the time, but it was, like you said, the fact that they shared so many actors as well. And it's almost a shame that Golden Child, which I'm sure was off the strength of the fact that Eddie Murphy was, let's not forget, Eddie Murphy was shit hot property in 1986. He's coming off, 48 Hours. He's coming off Beverly Hills Cop. He's just done Delirious, Raw. I'm not sure if he's quite done Raw, but it's around that time. So he would have put asses on seat regardless, but make no mistake, this is a much better film than The Golden Child. And I like The Golden Child. The Golden Child is fun. This film is bonkers, but it's brilliant.
I enjoy The Golden Child, but this is a much better adventure. The Golden Child feels more serious for the subject matter it's dealing with, where this is just a fun ride. This is just a fun adventure into something that you necessarily wouldn't have thought of. So,
the thing is, you can tell by the way they've aged. For instance, I think people like myself, I grew up watching The Golden Child, and I have an affinity for it for sure. And if it comes on TV, I'll watch a bit of it. I remember certain lines, but there's a reason why this is a cult classic, and maybe Golden Child isn't. There's a reason this is, more, put this way, a lot more people are still talking about Big Trouble in Little China than Golden Child. If you said to 1,000 people on the street, it's what would you prefer a sequel to, Golden Child or Big Trouble in Little China? Well, maybe a lot of them would say, what the fuck are you talking about? The ones who do have an interest are nearly all going to say Big Trouble. There's just no two ways about it.
You got any more facts?
No, I've got the whole changing the intro at the studio's insistence. We already mentioned that, and the test screens being amazing, despite and of course, I guess that's what led to it largely. It's John Carpenter's making this film. He thinks he's got a massive hit on his hands. It goes to test screenings, it slays. Everyone's like, dude, this film's going to be the biggest one of the year. And then it totally bombs. And it bombs to the extent where John Carpenter was so disillusioned with Hollywood after it that he quit Hollywood. He still kept making films, but he made nothing but independent films after this, or at least for the longest time. That's how much it upset him. It was I've got a hit on my hands. And it was just why don't people like this? He loves this film. And he just doesn't get why people don't like it.
Once they saw
dude, I understand it. I watched it a month ago randomly, because I hadn't seen it for so long, and I was I wanted Bethan to watch it. I was this film from my youth, and I was I'd be interested to see what she thought. She watched 30 minutes. She's like, I can't watch any of this. It's done. I don't know what's going on. It's all confusing. And while I could sit there and be an asshole and explain why it's awesome and she's an idiot, I get it. It's not an objectively great film. If someone sits down and it doesn't click with you, the weird tone, the weird genre, the weird action, if someone said, listen, I hate this film, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I understand it completely. It's a strange film. I still think it's one of the weirdest mainstream movies ever made. I think it's that weird. As
I said to you, this film is batshit. It is nuts, but it's fantastic at the same time. It doesn't need, because of it's done so well, it doesn't need to explain itself. Now, the reason why I think it did poorly as well at the beginning is I wonder if people saw the two names, Kurt Russell and John Carpenter. Sorry, they saw those two names and they thought,
of course,
The Thing.
Or Snake Plissken and Escape from New York.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a lot together.
Where he plays the traditional hero in those films.
So I've only got a couple of facts as well, so ones that stood out to me. One of my favourite is, at the beginning, you get the logo Big Trouble in Little China, and you get Chinese writing. Mm-hmm. And the Chinese characters in the main title translate to, evil spirits make a big scene in little spiritual state.
Fantastic.
So that's a great title.
Sums up the film. Yeah. That could be the tagline for the film, no doubt.
The other one, take this with a pinch of salt. I call a bit of scrutiny on this. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because you already mentioned the film. Kurt Russell turned down the lead role of Connor McLeod to appear in this film.
Did he really?
Apparently.
I mean, he looks the part. I mean, don't be wrong, I love Highlander as well, but I'm happy to live in a world where Highlander is as crazy it is, and it's got Christopher Lambert being all Canadian, French, whatever the fuck he is, not English, and certainly not fucking Scottish.
And again, in my opinion, there's only one Highlander film.
Which one's that? Not the
Highlander.
second one.
No, Highlander. There's no other film after Highlander.
There really isn't. Highlander 2 is an abomination, and the other ones are... The thing is, the other ones, the later films, you forgive them for being shit and a mess because they got different characters. You're like, oh, it's gone off the rails, lower budgets. Highlander 2 had a budget. Highlander 2 had Sean Connery and Christopher Lambert. Highlander 2 is a fucking travesty.
And the same director, mind.
Yeah. The thing is, though... And again, I don't want to be, they can be only one, but it really does feel like one of those films where lightning strikes once. That film with the soundtrack, I don't want to go too far into it because this feels like a film we could end up doing. That film is insane, and it somehow works despite the fact that all its constituent parts don't really work or glue together, but it still works. But of course, if you try and recreate that magic again, you're just like, oh no, this film is a bit silly, isn't it? But great premise anyway.
You've already said there as well, whether you knew it or not, but Kurt Russell said that he based Jack Burton on John Wayne.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So that was good. And what else did I write down here? In the scene where Kurt Russell is attempting to infiltrate the brothel, he is wearing the same outfit that he wore in a film called Used Cars, which I've never seen.
I was wondering what the deal was with the outfit. Sorry, I did actually have a note on that because he's wearing the glasses and he's doing a bit, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I was like, is there something to this outfit? It felt so specific. Like, why couldn't he just go in and be Jack Burton? They don't know who Jack Burton is. But he was like, I'm going to go in with the glasses, essentially a disguise or something. It's very odd. So, I had no idea that was from another film.
And the last one, Chinese characters again. The Chinese characters on the front of Egg's tour bus say, Uncle Egg's tours, guarantee a good time.
Oh, I bet they do.
Speaking of the tour bus...
Egg does a lot of drugs, as we know, so God knows what goes on.
Speaking of the tour bus, when you first see Egg and he's driving the Americans around...
San Francisco,
Chinatown, was that Porkins in the back? Or am I just being fattest?
Fattest, like they all look the same. You'd think anyone else would watch a film about Asians and be like, oh, they all look the same. It's like, all fat people look the same to me. It's a weird thing. I can't see beyond it.
I'm sure that was
I have no idea.
I'm honestly sure. I couldn't find it earlier, but I'm sure that was the same guy that played...
I hope it is, because it feels like Porkins is showing up in a lot of these films. What was that, sorry?
Well, I'm sure that's him, because he was in Batman 89 as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was Eckhart.
Eckhart, yeah.
Yeah. Which was a pretty big role, actually. It wasn't just a walk-on kind of thing. I can't believe all those years I didn't realize I was looking Porkins right in the face. Unbelievable.
Sorry, last one. Mao Yin, because we've already said that it sounded like you say meow, roughly translates to cat-like.
Oh, well, again, the eyes and stuff like that. Yeah. And again, she's rubbish. I don't get why everyone's so obsessed.
And both of them, Kim Cattrall and her, have brown eyes. They have to wear contacts.
Obviously. Again, something about this film which makes no fucking sense. Speaking of not making sense, each week we usually take a look at the music videos for these films, or the scores, or whatever. The score is very good, and it's by John Carpenter and someone else who I can't remember. But throughout, I think the music in this film is great. But the one thing, and I can't believe I ever noticed it before, was the end credits song is fucking dope. It's class, so it is so good. It's actually by John Carpenter's
and his band.
Coupe de Ville. Yeah, the Coupe de Villes. And have you seen the video to this song?
Only when you shared it the other day on the Facebook group.
It is the most 80s thing. It's almost like if you said now, if you were doing like a parody of the 80s and you said, okay, make a music video and try and make it look like the most 80s thing of all time, it would look like the video. And I love the fact that the song is literally called Big Trouble in Little China. I love soundtracks in the 80s where they force the name into it. But it's like, I think the only thing they're missing, and maybe isn't there, would be like the key tie, the key necktie.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think. But it's got the mullets, it's got the jackets, it's got the dodgy 80s effects, it's got everything. If you haven't seen it before, go and watch the Big Trouble in Little China song by John Carpenter and the Coupe de Ville band. It is spectacular. And as I said, when it came on at first, because the credits rolled and the music, I was like, God, I don't remember this song. And it's playing, I was like, oh, it's like a nothing song. I'm not first on this. And then about 30 seconds in, I'm like, hold the phone. This is all right. By the end of it, I'm singing along with it. I was like, I've got to check to see if there's a video to this. And lo and behold, it's the greatest fucking music video of all time. I think that is one of the great things about this podcast is revisiting these, when people think of like music from the 80s, you think, Rocky IV and stuff like that. But two of my favorites has been this and The Monster Squad, two that I totally forgot about and absolutely belted.
That Monster Squad rap, I'm still listening to at the moment.
I was on about Rock Until You Drop.
Oh, Rock Until You Drop. Oh, mate, I'm all for the Monster Squad rap. I'm sorry.
Oh, well. I mean, that is the one thing. This is 86. Is a bit too early for the quintessential late 80s, early 90s rap song. But I'm more than happy with the music video by John Carpenter and the audacity for the director to insist that he does the music video with his band that he started in like university. Like, how fucking batshit crazy is that? Like, that was imagine Steven Spielberg making E.T. and being like, dude, I'm going to do the soundtrack for this film. It's like, what? So I'm going to do the main song.
I've only ever heard that once before, or technically after, and it didn't really work out for him. But it was Troy Duffy in the Boondock Saints.
Oh yeah,
because he did it. He signed his band up to do it, and we won't even get into that's a whole other thing.
Not with the same level of success here. Although, in fairness to John Carpenter, I mean, he still goes around, like he still does his music live. Yeah. He works obviously on the scores and stuff, and he's famous for Halloween stuff like that. We're talking about kind of world class scores here. But I didn't know that he had this band, the Coupe de Villes. I didn't know he was making such. It was outrageously 80s.
It was one thing that I like. It's one of those things that you've heard before. And if you watch the film, you could hide. But I wouldn't have been able to tell you, as if we were talking about this film previously. Oh, by the way, John Carpenter. That piece of information kind of left my brain.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The song for it is fantastic. The music video is absolutely insane, but kind of fits with the film as well, with the tone.
Yeah, it totally does. And we're talking right in the middle of the 80s. But one of the other, I guess, weird things about this film is that you would think like it would be so well suited to a video game. And there was a video game. You got to remember this is 1986, so this is pretty early. The NES had only been out for a year and hadn't released in the States by now. It had only been out for a year in like the Famicom in Japan since 85. So when it was released in 86, they did have a game for this, but it was released on the Commodore 64, the Spectrum, and the Amstrad. And it is bad. It was like a Kung Fu clone. I guess the cool twist was that you could swap between three characters. So you could swap between Jack, Wang, and Egg.
Yeah,
but you go
and they
back
all
and
had
watch
their own
it.
little different weapons,
move sets. Yeah. It's very simplistic, but it's a poor video game.
It feels like Double Dragon.
It's more like I'm not sure if you remember. I'm sure it was called Kung Fu, but it was a game I had on the Commodore 64 way back in the day, where basically you really do just walk left to right, and you have a very limited move set, and the characters, as you kick them, they fall off the screen, and it aesthetically looks a lot like that, but it doesn't have the same sense of impact. The connections are really clumsy. The mechanics aren't there, and you almost think, oh, well, there must have been a NES version. And the weird thing is there is a NES version, but I'm pretty sure it was released in 2016 it's basically just it's a hack ROM of, I'm not sure if you remember the game Bad Dudes. It was a much better game than the original. Bad Dudes is a pretty good NES game. It's based on an arcade game. And essentially they've just taken Bad Dudes and they've reskinned it with Jack Burton and Lo Pan and all the characters and stuff. And actually, you buy it because it's a NES game. It's like, yeah, sure, there's a train scene, which doesn't happen in the film, but that happened in all the NES games. Of course, it's only because there was a train level in Bad Dudes. But yeah, it was released in 2016. You can actually buy a cart of it. Okay. Obviously it's not legitimate.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's this reskinned Bad Dudes, Big Trouble in Little China game, and I assume it's otherwise exactly the same as Bad Dudes. So yeah, it's a pretty good NES game.
So you're saying the best Big Trouble in Little China game is the ripoff?
The 2016 ripoff. But I was trying to think, as usual, if a company was going to make Big Trouble in Little China game, in 2021, not Naughty Dog, definitely not Naughty Dog.
You're obsessed with Naughty Dog, mate. Honestly, you're obsessed.
If it not being, the answer's never Naughty Dog. It's just because Naughty Dog's the easy answer. But I think the perfect developer for this would actually be Platinum Games. Because Platinum Games, they do action maybe better than anyone. You think of games like Bayonetta, Nier, God Hand. Platinum specialize, first and foremost, in spectacular action, but they also do really oddly toned video games. You think of Bayonetta, even though it's different, it's witches and monsters, tonally, it's not a million miles away. It's this weird comedy, overblown kind of cinematic action. I really think Platinum Games, if anyone was going to make Big Trouble in Little China game, I think they're the guys, 100%.
For me, who did the Devil May Cry remake?
Oh, shit. No, so Capcom did the original ones. It's Ninja Theory.
See,
I thought that was a great game.
Yeah.
I thought that was super underrated.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. But that feels like it could be a Big Trouble in Little China. Ninja Theory, even like with... What did I just say? Devil May Cry. That literally just left my mind as I said that then.
Well, it was called DMC, wasn't it?
When you're walking down the alleyways and things, and you're fighting and everything, it has that feeling that you could, as you said before, skin. Because Devil May Cry as well is about demons and things flying around and everything. It just... I reckon Ninja Theory would do a really decent...
Well, I mean, it's again, Platinum are the same ballpark. It's like Bayonetta. I'm not sure if you've ever played Bayonetta.
No, Bayonetta, that's the random guns in my heels thing, is it?
Yeah. But the gameplay is ostensibly exactly the same as Devil May Cry. You go to an area, you fight monsters, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The only difference is, I think, obviously... they probably do better with that kind of Western lead, perhaps. But I think Platinum, in particular, tonally, maybe would get this world right. They kind of walk that line between being kind of self-serious and utterly absurd. Yeah. I think Ninja Theory is a great shout as well. But yeah, it's one of those teams, those guys who specialize in combat and can capture that odd sense of tone and place and stuff. So yeah, Ninja Theory or Platinum, it's one of those two for sure.
I kind of want a Big Trouble in Little China game now by Ninja Theory.
The only thing is, though, who would you play? That's the problem. Because the whole thing is that Jack Burton shit. So it's like, are you going to play Wang? Or that was my main issue when I was thinking about the game. I was like, you can't have like Devil May Cry style, like Dante, Jack Burton goes in and just kicks everyone's ass, because that's not Jack Burton. He's rubbish. So it's like, I almost like the idea that you control Jack Burton. You take the shots, you miss them, but then Wang kind of jumps in as an auxiliary character and actually kicks their ass for you or something. I don't know how it'll work. But
it'd be the other way, wouldn't it? You'd have Jack Burton, I guess, as the NPC, running around just
so you're controlling Wang.
Yeah. Yeah,
and he just keeps showing up.
You got Jack Burton, the guy who's actually talking to you, and he's giving off the one-liners, everything. But you're actually controlling Wang, and you've got to keep saving Jack Burton from getting his ass kicked.
The thing is, it's a tougher sell, though, isn't it? It's like if you're selling the game, it's like finally you get to control the hero from Big Trouble in Little China, Wang.
But why are you selling that? All you've got to do is just tell him it's a Big Trouble in Little China game.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, one of those two anyway. But so we've done video game music. I guess the interesting one, or the final one we're going to look at, is Legacy, which is a little sad almost because there isn't really much there because, it bombed 11 million off 20 million budget. It wasn't just Golden Child. I think one of the big reasons they said this bombed was that it was released 16 days after Aliens, which obviously is an absolute masterpiece. And I think that kind of stole a lot of the oxygen, a lot of the, this is back at a time, you think now films come into the cinema, they blow up a week or two, and then they kind of disappear. The next film comes in. This is back in the day when a film would stay in the cinema for months and months and would get released over a certain amount of time in different states and everything. So I think they were of the opinion that Aliens stole a lot of the potential box office that Big Trouble in Little China might have ended up with. And I guess to an extent it's gone for a similar market, I suppose. The most obvious legacy, I guess, is stuff like Lightning. Clearly, is Raiden in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, it wasn't 100%. Just Raiden, though, was it? There was another one as well. They said was based on one of the characters from it. I think it was Lo Pan. Was
Shao Tsung. Yeah, 100%. But Raiden is not even subtle. But it's even in more modern films.
Even the wicker hat, even the lampshade.
Yeah, everything about it. And one of the more interesting modern ones, and it was only when it was said, I thought, I can totally see it, was Taika Waititi when he was making Thor 3. What was it called?
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok. He was like, I wanted Thor to be like Jack Burton. And you got to remember, it was like, in Thor 1 and 2, he's almost that kind of like Shakespearean version of Thor. But Taika Waititi, he's the one who turned Thor into actually a bit of a buffoon. He comes, sure, he can back it up a bit more. But you think about a lot of his fights, he talks a good game, but then he often gets his ass kicked. Thor in that film, and it does lead into Endgame and stuff when he becomes Fat Thor, or Duke Thor, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's like, he does have a bit of the Jack Burton about it. And when he said it's like he was clearly kind of influenced by Jack Burton and Big Trouble, I'm like, I totally get it.
Even in Ragnarok, where he's giving off these big, exposition speeches and everything, he's acting hard. It's like when he turns around and says, "Don't cut my hair. How dare you, don't come near me with that thing." He's going, "Please, sir, don't cut my hair, please." He kind of just twists up. And as you say, you do feel Jack Burton in Thor.
100%. I never noticed it before, but when he said it, I was like, he totally has an element of Jack Burton about it. But
the only other... sorry, go on. No, you go.
No, I was just saying, it was a shame, obviously, that there was no... follow-ups, and obviously we're getting to the point now where Kurt Russell, as great as he is getting on a bit. He's in the I Play Santa role now. But there was a comic book adaptation in 2007 called Old Man Jack, and in terms of whether and they were talking about doing a remake or a sequel starring The Rock.
This is what I wanted to say. That's what I was going to go into. The only other part I had for Legacy was the fact that The Rock keeps going on about that he wants to do not so much a Big Trouble in Little China, but another, like a Jack Burton film. And
does he want to play Jack Burton?
Yes. And all I can say to that is, don't. Just fucking leave it alone.
Yeah, just leave it. I don't want to see The Rock play Jack.
No, I don't.
By that one character. That's it. I don't want to see The Rock play fucking Jack Burton. I don't want to see it. And it sounds like it's in limbo anyway now, because I think it was over at Fox, and now there's been the merger. Obviously, if anyone could get this film made, it would be The Rock, but I don't want to see it. Realistically, what I would like to see, either, Old Man Jack, but more realistically, why not make an animated version of this where Kurt Russell could come in and do the voice work? You could still have it set in the 80s. Yeah. And it's just the ongoing ventures of Jack Burton, but just animated.
That's what I want. I want different genres with Jack Burton. He's already touched this side of it now. You just need because that is a great character to actually be a folly. That's a great character to be a folly.
And like you said, especially if you Yeah. And if you had this animated as well, you could really push the boat out. And amazingly, if you did it animated and just did voice work, you could actually get low pan back because he's still doing voice work at 92 years old. You have to do it pretty quick, but
he is busy.
He's great. He's a busy man.
How is William Shatner 90?
I know, it's crazy. And he, basically, all I can hope is that if I ever get to 90, and I hope I do, I hope I get to 90 in the same way, the way Shatner has.
Yeah, but,
I mean, he does not look 90 at all.
Yeah, but remember, anyone over 6
it's unbelievable. Oh, yeah, I'm screwed. I'm 6'5". I'm 6'5". I'm in the death zone. So there's no way I'm getting to 90. It seems very unlikely that I'm going to get to 90 years old and end up looking like William Shatner. So I'm just going to let that one slide. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I think we've covered everything. So
yeah, let's jump into
to wrap up
then. So
ratings.
For me, this film is definitely a 4, maybe even a 4.5, because out of 5, obviously, there is just there's so much that is weird about this film, and there's so much that doesn't make sense. And like you said, people have watched this film, your wife has watched this film and just said this film is shit. But this is a big nostalgia thing for me. This film is, I could watch this film at any time and love it and just enjoy it. It always gives you good feelings when you watch it. I always go back to like watching it with my dad. You know, we would sit down, we would like sit down and watch it, and there wasn't many films that you would sit down and watch with your parents a lot. It was always films you'd watch on your own, you watch with your friends and stuff. But I think I watched Big Trouble in Little China more with my dad than I did any other time. And it probably brings me back to like feelings of how I felt watching it with him and then playing like Big Trouble in Little China in your house, like your Jackbird and everything. And just things like that. And it's a big nostalgia fix that gives it a 4 to a 4.5 for me. But I absolutely love it, mate. I love it. Well, and
it's one of those weird things, I guess, is that I don't have the same level of nostalgia attached to it. And I watched it about a month ago, and obviously it was kind of the big talking point was just the fact that my wife hated it so much. But I went back and watched the rest of it on my own, and I enjoyed it. Watching it again, I enjoyed it even more this time.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was reviewing this film, I'm giving it a 4, but the thing is, there's 2 questions we always ask. It's like, does it hold up? Which I think it does in its own weird way. I don't think there's any issues with it holding up. I think it's as batshit now as it was in 1986. But the other question we always ask is, would you encourage other people to watch it? Like if somebody hadn't grown up with it, didn't have any nostalgia, would you say to them, it's like, oh, go and watch this? I'm not sure I would. Like as much as I enjoy it and it ticks a lot of boxes for me, despite the lack of nostalgia attached to it, I think it's a really good, absolutely mental, totally unique film. But if I'm thinking about, say, the guys I work with, for instance, who aren't genre fans, aren't kind of so geeky into films, you know, they'll watch films and stuff, but they're not into them the same way that you and I are, for instance. I wouldn't encourage any of them to watch it because, I mean, don't get me wrong. If one of them said to me, it's like, I'm thinking about watching Big Trouble in Little China, I wouldn't say no. I'd be like, dude, it's a weird film. You should give it a go. But I'm not going to watch this today and then go into work tomorrow and be like, guys, man, I watched Big Trouble again. You've got to watch it. Because I'm like, I don't think they would enjoy it. But if it ticks the boxes, if you're willing to go on the ride, embrace the weirdness, then it's a unique, one-of-a-kind movie.
I'd recommend it. I'd go into work tomorrow and say, look, I watched Jurassic Park. I watched Big Trouble in Little China on the weekend.
Jurassic Park's great.
I watched Big Trouble in Little China on the weekend. You've got to go and watch it. Like I
would encourage others.
I'd carry the banner for this film, and I would encourage others to watch it.
See, are you blinded by your love, though? Are you just telling other people to watch it because you love it that much?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
That's what I mean,
I am blinded by this film, and I'm blinded by my own feelings for that. And I'm sorry, but it kind of just I can't take one from the other and differentiate them. Like I can't take the film and my feeling for the film and split them up and say, well, if I look at the film on its own merits, would I ask people to watch it? No, fuck that. My feeling for the film jumps into it, and you got to watch this film because I love it.
You're just telling people because you've got that attachment. Yeah. I mean, I'm saying from a more kind of neutral observer, as it were,
you're a fucking robot.
Well, no. There are a lot of films. I try. That's the point of this. I think I try and remove myself, even if I do love it for nostalgic reasons. I'm like, yeah, I love it, but then I have to take that step away and be like, when I say, would I encourage other people to watch it? It's not like because I want this film to be popular. I'm like, do I think that they would enjoy it? Just your everyday person on the street. A person, yeah, I watch a few films. Oh yeah, like I said, Die Hard. If someone had never seen if one of the guys, I'm like, put it this way, nearly everyone on my team hasn't seen fucking Rocky, which is weird as shit. I will go in and I would say, dude, you've got to watch Rocky. You've got to watch Rocky 4 in particular. I'm like, they're just films. I think you'll enjoy them. I think they're great. This film, I'm like, I have no confidence that they would actually enjoy. I think a lot of people will find it too fucking weird.
That's weird because I wouldn't go in and tell people to watch Rocky and Rocky 4. As much as I love them, I would not.
Rocky's such an easy sell, dude. Like, who the fuck wouldn't enjoy Rocky?
I would not.
Dude, Rocky's like the quintessential Oscar-winning feel-good movie. Yeah. It's like you could tell your 98-year-old grandmother to be, anyone Rocky, watch Rocky, should enjoy it. Anyone tell your 98-year-old grandmother to watch fucking Big Trouble in Little China.
Anyone could watch.
You would.
And I made my grandmother watch it once when I was sober. So
fantastic. To sum up, you're out of your fucking mind, but. To get to the point, we both enjoyed it. It's a great film. We have mixed views on whether we encourage.
How are you only now realizing I'm out of my mind? By the way.
Okay, well, this is push up the edge. I had my suspicions now, without question now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it for this week. Otherwise, we're going to keep fucking talking about it forever.
Yeah.
Go and watch Big Trouble. I don't know. We enjoyed it, and that's the only thing that really fucking matters to me anyway.
Don't listen to Liam. Go and watch Big Trouble.
Go fuck yourself. All right, so next week is my choice. This is another interesting one, and again, this kind of falls into the category: is it good? Is it bad? I don't know.
I'll pause you there. I'll pause you there. I'll let people stew on what you're about to say, and before we forget to do it, like we do pretty much every week, I will just ask people to. Please go ahead and follow us on Hey You Guys 80s on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you feel like dropping us any recommendations or any reviews, we're on heyouguys80s@gmail.com. We appreciate anything we get back, really. So
that sounded so desperate. Anything we get back, we appreciate literally anything.
Oh, mate,
I'll take a bad review at this point. Anything, Jesus Christ!
I'm on my knees, just asking people to
begging, please, just download the show.
Right. So go ahead, mate. What are we doing for next week?
Next week, well, due to the fact that it was a combination of things. Basically, James Hampton passed away this week, and he is maybe a name you don't know, but he's probably most famous for playing Harold Howard, the father in Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
And it was just bizarre because Teen Wolf was on film 4 this week, and I'd recorded it, and the day I recorded it, I found out that James Hampton had passed away. And when I think of James Hampton, obviously I think of the character, but most specifically, I think of a very particular scene in that movie. And I went to press play just to make sure it recorded, because I was like, I think I might have started recording halfway through the film, and I had. And it literally started exactly on that scene. The first transformation scene, when he goes up to the bathroom, he turns into a wolf, and then opens the door to his dad, Harold Howard. Let's just call him Mr. Howard. And what is, without question, the worst fucking werewolf of all time. We'll get into the details of it next week, but in loving memory of James Hampton, one of the great 80s movies dads, next week we'll be doing Teen Wolf. So we hope you can join us.
Again, another film I loved as a kid, so I'm really looking forward to watching that again. So
I can't wait to watch terrible werewolves and a lot of really bad, really white basketball.
And
so
Styles.
Please.
And Styles.
You got a lot of great t-shirts.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, one thing before we go, this is the last thing I'm going to say. This film has the best posters. Full stop. Whatever you say about this film, it has some of the best posters in movie history. That's it. Thank you. It's been a great time talking to you as always. Yeah. Hope you all join us next week for Teen Wolf. And until then, catch you. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks for listening.